Hello and welcome to Amethyst Star Crafting. My name is Jane Ormark and I'm a UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. And we're on week 8 of our Handmade Christmas, 12 weeks of Christmas. And this week is all about packaging. So this last one is a huge, big bag. A bag that you can put lots and lots in. It's probably about the biggest bag that you can do, that's reinforced, that's strong, that isn't sort of flimsy, that you can make out of 12 by 12 papers. So you need 2 sheets of 12 by 12, any 12 by 12 you've got, as long as they are the same. And obviously a scoreboard to be able to score them. So really easy measurements. Doesn't really matter which side. You need to have your pattern going up if it's a patterned side, and you are going to score it on one of the sides at 3 inches. Whee, 3 inches. I've already done this, as you can see. 3 inches and at 11.5 inches. Okay, so just 2 scores, 3 inches, 11.5. Then you're going to rotate it and you are going to score it at 3 inches and 10.5 inches. Okay, and that's all the scoring. Then you're going to do exactly the same thing to another sheet of cardstock. So just make sure that you are rotating it the same way for each piece, so that you have exactly the same scores on there. So a 3 inch and a 10.5 inch, and a 3 inch and an 11.5 inch. And that's all the scoring that you need to do. Okay, so let me put my scoreboard out of the way and then we can start doing the next bit. Okay, so you are going to have a piece here at the top. Now I've got mine, this is the side I'm using. Again, you can see I'm using old paper, and it's going to have a nice little collar on it. Okay, and you are going to, you've got this little side piece. So we want the little tiny side piece down on here. And you're then going to take your other, let me just I put my measurements down on a scrap of paper. You're then going to take the other one. So you've got your same piece at the top, which is going to fold over as your flap. And you're going to put this on here, and we're going to glue both of these pieces together. So you can use whatever glue you want. I'm going to use Tombow because I know that Tombow will stick nicely and is very good for paper to paper. So I am just going to glue all the way down here. There's probably not all of it will go onto camera actually, because as I say, it's a great big huge 12 by 12 piece of paper, and we can take it right the way up to the top. So this tiny little strip down here, we're gluing all the way up and down. And then we're going to take the side, so you've got your top piece, you've got your larger piece and your smaller piece, and we are going to literally just put these 2 pieces together. Okay, so I'm just going to line them up with your score lines so that you get them nice and straight. And that's why I like the wet glue, because it means that I have a little bit of wiggle room in on there before I'm committed. So you just glue that on there, and then you've got to go on to the other side. You can see where that's glued in together. You've got one very large long piece. Okay, so we then need the top piece is going to fold over, because that's going to give us the top of the box. Now with all of these, I don't use a bone folder with designer series paper, because I like to have them, designer series paper can mean that it is just a little bit flimsy is the wrong word, but it can crack, particularly if it's one like this. This was an old, as I say, as you know, I'm using up all of my old ones. So this is what we need to now do. Is we need to, on these pieces down here, we've got a long piece, we've got a narrow piece, and we've got a long piece and a narrow piece. So on the narrow piece, we are going to cut it up just inside the score line, up to the top here. And you know the rule, on squares you always notch in, on rectangles you leave alone. So we're only going to do a tiny little notch. It just means that when we put it together, it will be a little bit neater. So I'm just taking a tiny little notch out of this, and I'm going to do exactly the same down on the other side. I hope you can see me on here, because as I say, this is a big, as you can say, big bag. But I thought we would do the biggest size bag we can, because there's always things that we want to package and take round where we need a bigger bag. And quite often we think, oh, I'm going to have to go and buy a bigger bag because I haven't got anything that's big enough, whereas this gives you your big size bag. And I always end up doing a few of these, as well as all the other sizes of bags. So just take that one off and do this one. As I say, take your time in doing it. I always say there's no rush in things. I know on the video I do tend to go a little bit quicker than I would, but when I'm doing bags and boxes and things, I always tend to be as neat as I can. Okay, so we've now got our pieces like that, and we now need to take this piece, which is on here, and we need to glue this in on here. Now, the way I do this is, if you look at this piece on here, you can actually pop that in, and it means that it's neater. So just by leaving that piece on, rather than cutting it off, I hope you can see that, I always leave this little piece on, because I find it's neater for you know, putting it all together. So what I'm going to do first of all, though, is we need to put glue down on this side. Okay, so I'm going to put my wet glue again. Oh, and you can see on this one I've cut that little tiny wedge off. We don't need that piece on there. So I don't know whether I remembered to tell you that or not, but just on that one side, you just need to cut that off just a little bit. Okay, so I'm gluing up on here, and then I'm going to glue just inside this little piece here, which is up at the top. So I'm hoping that you can, did you see that in there? Or am I right off the top? No, I am still on, that's fine. Okay, so we then need to, as I say, I'm going to take this piece and I'm just going to slide it in on here. It's probably getting very close to you, like that. And then I'm going to take this piece, and this is then going to be glued on. So I can take that back down at the side like that and do it flat. Okay, so that needs to come down nicely on here. So that's glued on. And then when I take this up on this side, I am just going to, on here, just glue that piece down in on here. Okay, so we've now got that part of the box done. So that's going to go at the back. So we need to turn it up this way, and these pieces are now going to go in. Probably looking very close for you up here, isn't it? I'm trying to see how to do it so it's not quite so close. It's just going to go, so we're literally just putting these pieces in so that they come like that, and we're going to glue along here. So if I take this down like that, we're going to glue along this one. As I say, it's such a big bag that it hardly fits onto my screen. So let's just do this along on here. Got to find my line, which is there. So I'm literally just putting glue all the way down on here. And along on the seam. Down on these edges. Always pay particular attention to your edges, because those are the bits that will stick up. And then that is going to come just nicely in on here. So sorry it being very close on there, but you can then see. Then we've got the inside of the box like this. So what I've done is I have cut a piece, and if you measure this along here, I've cut it just like 1/8 of an inch smaller to go down in there. In fact, it's a little bit short, but it doesn't matter. What you want to do is to just have a little piece that's going to go just down in the bottom and is going to give it a little bit of extra stability in on here. So let's take this. You can glue it on, you don't even need to glue it on actually. So we now have our bag like this. I'm just going to pinch the sides on here, so you can see on here you've got this going on that side and you've got that going on that side. And then we are going to, and this is, just need to make sure that that's glued down enough. You can wait a few seconds for it to glue down, but you can see how big this box is, or bag. It is going to fit, you know, lots of things. I mean, that's my hand. So those are my two hands. So let me measure it for you so you can actually see the size of it. Because as I say, we're not talking about a little bag here. We're talking about a huge big bag. So the bag measures 9 inches by 7.5 inches, and it's obviously 3 inches deep. So as I say, you're talking about a good size bag, which you can get lots and lots in. So we now need to just put some handles on it to make it look really pretty. So what I tend to do is I will use, and if you want to, you can glue these pieces down. I quite like them to just sort of hang down. I don't think that they look, by the time you've got your ribbon in, you don't need to have them glued down. If you want to have them glued down, you can do. It'll probably make it a little bit sturdier. So, you know, it's entirely up to you. I'm just going to put just a tiny little bit of glue in on here, just underneath it. Don't need too much. And I'm just going to glue that down on there. So as I say, you can have it glued down if you want to. You can leave it up if you want to. It's entirely up to you. So I tend to sort of, you know, I quite like it to have a little bit of movement on it. But as I say, it's entirely up to you. Then we're going to, so that's going to be the back, that's going to be the front. So what I want to do now is to take my crocodile, because we're going to put some ribbon in, and you can measure it. So you can measure it from either side. I don't tend to measure anything. I just eyeball it, but that's the way I am. So I'm going to look and go, it's going to be about there. Not too deep. So let's do it about there on that one, and then about there on that one. And then I'm going to turn it over, and by seeing, I can see the hole underneath. I'm going to do it about there on that one, and on this one I'm going to do it about there. Okay, so that gives us our little pieces for our tags, and then you just need to choose some ribbon. So again, I'm using some old ribbon that I've got. It's not exactly the perfect match, but it's enough of a match because it's got the gold in it that I don't need, you know, it doesn't worry me about it. So I'm going to put, I need to just cut a piece off here so it's not fraying quite so much. So this is going to go in, and I want to have, doesn't matter which way you put it in, it can go inside to out or outside to in, because what you're going to do is you're going to put a little knot in on the side. So I'm going to look and see with my knot in, I want it about that sort of size. So I'm going to take it out because I want both of them to be the same size. So if I cut this one here like that, just at a slight angle, and then I'm going to measure exactly the same size with the other. So it doesn't have to be, you do it how you want it and how long you want it. I'm not going to give you the, I can give you the measurements of how long this is, but you know, look at your bag and see how long you want it. So let me just have a look on this. It's probably about, what are we, 13 inches. Because you've got your knot on there as well. And again, it depends how, I always try and cut things a little longer, because then it means that I can turn round and tie the knot in when I'm ready. So I'm just going to put this through on, I'm going to put it through from the inside out, because that means that I can then, it's a bit of a fray ribbon, lots of ribbons will fray a bit. So, and then I'm going to take this in on this way to go in on here. You can see it fraying through like that. And then I'm just going to tie a little knot in on here. So just a little knot. If I can get my fingers working to tie little knots. You know what I'm like sometimes with trying to tie things. I'm not the greatest. So let's see if that goes in. Like that. There we go. It's painful watching me tie ribbons, isn't it? Knots and things. Okay, so that's that on there. So that then comes to there. And then I can do exactly the same thing. I'm not going to do the other side for you, but you do exactly the same on the other side. I'll do it off once I've finished on camera. But and if you find that it is, your knots is a little bit thin, so this one I didn't do it, I tied it a bit tight. You can always put a little ribbon, so in here you can always put a little bead or something like that on there, which will help hold it in. But you've then got this lovely, put it down here, you do the other side with the other piece of ribbon. You've then got this lovely bag, and then all you need to do is to put a tag, embellish it. You know, there's enough room to put a card on. These we made earlier on, which are the note cards, but if you're going to do a tag or something, that sort of size, you can put it on there. And you know, it makes a lovely size bag to put whatever you want on there. So you know, it's big enough to fit a card. So let me show you. Have I got a card that's finished that I haven't put away in a box? Let me have a look and see in my box. I have a box full of cards, and these aren't going to be Christmas ones, but just to show you that you can actually put a full-size card on if you want to. So this is one I did a long time ago, but you see what I mean? You can put a whole card in on there. So it's big enough to fit anything you really want. You can have a really good size tag on there. You can have a small tag. You know, you can decorate the whole of this with all sorts of pretties if you want to, but it's just a really good size, simple, easy box to make, that you can fit. Yeah, you can fit lots and lots and lots in there because it's a good size bag. So thank you so much as always for watching me. Please stay safe and well. Please be kind and look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye bye.